December 5th, 2022, the final month of 2022. Can't believe we are already in it. Episode
Crazy.
316 of the Tan and J-Man Show, live on the IC Sports Network, live on the Tan and J-Man Show, and on the IC Sports Network Twitter account. I'm Tanner Lee. My co-host Josh the J-Man Muntz joining me from the state of Illinois. Josh, how are you this evening?
You know, I was going back actually yesterday through my 22 bold predictions for 2022, and I so far have 4 of them correct.
4 correct, huh?
4 correct, yep.
I need to go through mine one
actually,
of these days.
5 correct. Aaron Rodgers will remain a Green Bay Packer was one, although I think both parties wish he wouldn't have at this point.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best, even though he did what he always does yesterday. And that's beat the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Actually, I might have gotten 6 correct because were the Bengals a wild? Yeah, Bengals were a wild card team. I said at least one wild card team will play in the championship game. So there's 6.
Your number keeps climbing the more you're going through it. So
it keeps rising a little bit. But, I'm at 6. 6 out of 22 is not very good.
I need to go check mine. I'm not sure. Where I know at one time I was doing okay, but I don't know what my definition of okay is. So, not sure.
I have some birdie bogey for you here.
But I was going to say one thing that might not be okay is the birdie or bogey competition for 2022. On my part, if I don't get this right tonight, I think it's over.
How many weeks we have left? It is the, what is the date? The 5th. So we have...
Yeah.
I think there's only 3 more podcasts left. The 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. That's it. So you got to win out and I got to lose out, pretty much.
Yeah, probably not happening.
Yeah. Can you name the 3 coaches with the most conference championship game wins?
Ooh. This is for football?
Yes, for college football.
College football? Sorry. Okay.
Yes, I was going to give you a hint, but I'm not going to anymore. The person with the most has 10 conference championship wins. One guy has 8 and another guy has 7. So there are 3 coaches with 7 or more conference championship game wins in NCAA history. All have coached this century because, again, championship games were not a thing up until pretty much this century in college football. So can you name the guys with the 3 most? Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC, fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get your veggies!
Get your veggies, indeed. Get your merchandise. Like I said last week, they got great merchandise, particularly long-sleeve T-shirts and beanies. Always need those in the wintertime, so make sure to go and get those.
Yeah, I say it every week, but I'm going to need to buy one because I am a 30-year-old bald man and my head gets very cold.
Well, there's nothing wrong with wearing a beanie
Very
indoors.
That is true. It gets cold indoors, too. It's rough.
Yeah, it can be stylish. It can be stylish.
Rough life
It can be warm.
for the J-Man. Rough life for the J-Man. What do you want to start with tonight there, Tana Man?
Why don't we start with some on this day right off the bat?
Beautiful. Ready to get educated?
I always need it. You know that, so...
There's a few Grey Cups on here, but I won't.
Canadian football.
Yes, a absolute barn burner of a Canadian Football League Grey Cup happened in 1942 at Varsity Stadium in Toronto. Toronto RCAF Hurricanes beat the Winnipeg RCAF Bombers 8-5. It's a baseball game.
Or a Denver Bronco football game.
Oh man. Nothing like losing to Tyler Huntley. Is that his name?
Saw it coming.
It's getting rough there in Denver.
It's been rough for a while, Josh.
Yeah, I know, but every week you think's rock bottom, then rock bottom somehow finds itself further down.
They just keep digging. I'm not sure what they're trying to hit at this point, but
trying to strike gold. Unfortunately, that gold's not going to turn into much. It's going to be worth nothing. On this day in 1943, the NFL Philadelphia Eagle Pittsburgh Steeler merger dissolves. Did not know that they were merged together at one time.
I didn't either.
See, we're learning something. On this day in 1948, New York Giant Charlie Connerly sets NFL record of 36 pass completions. Or as today's NFL does it, any other Sunday.
Yeah, I was gonna say average game. No, that's still a really good game, but
That is a
yeah.
good game. On this day in 1972, who won the 38th Heisman Trophy?
72. Is that Archie Griffith?
It is not. Johnny Rodgers of Nebraska.
Okay.
On this day, and this is an interesting one for baseball nerds. On this day in 1973, Chicago Cubs Ron Santo becomes the first baseball player to invoke the 10-5 rule and veto his trade with the California Angels. So what that is if you have been in the league at least 10 years and you've been on the same team for 5 years, you get an automatic no trade clause. So,
okay.
Which trying to think who could even. I'm sure there's guys now, but guys switch teams so often nowadays that not many people hit the 10-5 rule anymore. On this day in 1974, the NFL Seattle Seahawks form.
Done pretty well for themselves. One Super Bowl title and two other appearances. So 3 appearances overall.
On this day in 1978, free agent Pete Rose signs a 4-year, $32 million contract with the Phillies, becoming the highest paid baseball player. You know, that's $8 million a year. That's a lot in 1978.
That was a lot of coin back then. I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's not a good person, but I think his play on the field deserves it.
Put him in the Hall of Fame. Let him nowhere near a baseball field. Kind of compromise on that. On this day in 1981, who won the Heisman Trophy? It was a running back. Spoiler alert.
Was it Earl Campbell?
Good guess, but no. Marcus Allen.
Okay.
Another good one. On this day in 1987, who won the Heisman Trophy?
Barry Sanders.
Tim Brown. Notre Dame. Used to be so good at that.
Barry might have been 88.
He might have been, yeah.
He was right around there, so darn it.
On this day in 1990, newly minted Hall of Famer crime dog Fred McGriff was traded to the San Diego Padres for Robbie Alomar.
I was kind of surprised he got in, to be honest.
Well, it took him, he didn't get voted in on the original ballot. It took the old-timer Veterans Committee, as they call it, to get in. And he needed 12 of 16 votes, and he was unanimous. So good for crime dog. I am a little surprised he got in as well. He had good numbers, but nothing that really blew you away. I think he was 7 homers short of 500, which if he would have hit that 500 homer mark, he probably would have been in a long time ago, which is kind of stupid. They have these arbitrary points guys need to get to, but here's what it is.
I saw him play in person a couple times for the Cubs, and I actually had his jersey when he was on the Cubs.
I remember when the Cubs traded for him, 01, I think. And he was good, almost made the playoffs that year. And then the next year, I think they lost 95 games. Old crime dog. He had one of those. He had a really weird swing, if I remember. It kind of wrapped around his head.
Yeah, it was kind of almost a level swing, and then he went up. It was really kind of weird. And then it was weird.
He's probably better known for those Tom Amansky commercials there.
Yeah, back to back AU national champions.
Yeah. That's it. It seemed like those commercials were on every 6 minutes.
All the time.
Yeah. Honestly, in 1992, the first SEC championship game was played. Can you tell me who won that one?
92? 93, I know Alabama won the national title in 93 over Miami, Florida. So I'm going to say Alabama won in 92 over somebody.
You got it. Over number 12, Florida, 28-21. On this day in 2008, former NFL star O.J. Simpson is sentenced to 33 years in prison for kidnapping and armed robbery. He only served, about 10, 11 years or so?
He did a lot of bad things.
He was not a good guy. He's right there next to... he's not even close to Pete Rose as far as bad guys go. But on this day In 2017, Russia is banned from the next Winter Olympics in South Korea over state-sponsored doping.
Cheaters.
Shocker. Shocker. I assume they'll be eligible to come back to the next Winter Olympics, which is...
I believe so.
When will that be? 2024? No. Yeah? No. 2026?
Well, what'd you say that one was?
2017, they were banned, but the Winter Olympics were held in, 2018? Of course, COVID kind of screwed things up.
Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head. I don't know.
2024. 2024, Paris, France hosts the next year from February. So
yeah.
Did math in my head. It didn't go very well. It's gonna be a good show tonight. There, Tan and J-Man show.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Is that all you got for this week's On?
That is all
I
got for On This Day.
And that's the On This Day segment, which is brought to you by this week, like it is every week, Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a 100% hand-cut, custom-designed wood sign shop. Wow, I am struggling with words. They're based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They can make anything from signs, the growth charts. They make a perfect addition to any home, office, or man cave. Like I say every week, the holidays are coming up. They're fastly approaching. One of their signs makes the perfect addition, not only to your home, to that sports fan in your family's home. So if you're on the fence of what to get somebody, you need that one last gift, give Mooney Woodcrafts, give Thad Mooney of Mooney Woodcrafts an email at mooneywoodcrafts@gmail.com for your custom order and get that Purdue logo signed, that Illinois logo signed, that Indiana logo signed, Butler, Notre Dame, NFL team, MLB team, whatever it might be. Give Thad an email. You can also find their recently completed projects on Instagram and Facebook at Mooney Woodcrafts.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk some college hoops.
Sure. I'd be glad to talk some college hoops.
Hoops. Yeah, you should be glad to talk some college hoops. The first net rankings came out, which, in my opinion, the metrics to follow the net rankings are so much easier than the old RPI used to be because you never knew what they were basing it off of. Now they give you a whole list. You have quad 1 wins, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4. It makes it a lot easier. And it makes it a lot easier knowing who you need to beat to get into the NCAA tournament. Purdue was what? They were third in the net rankings. Indiana, where were they? 11th?
That sounds right.
Illinois, I believe, was 13th. And then Iowa was 21st. Ohio State, 25. So a couple top 25 teams. Some interesting teams of note. Michigan, who came into the year ranked 25th, I believe, are 114th in the net rankings. They have a loss to Arizona State, barely beat Ohio, lost to Kentucky, lost to – who else did they lose to? Lost to Virginia, blew an 11-point second half lead to Virginia. So they're not doing well. Michigan State, who beat Kentucky earlier in the year and shot up to 12th in the country, 10th in the country, something like that. They've lost a bunch in a row, including getting absolutely trounced by Notre Dame, who then turns around and loses at home to Syracuse, who's terrible. And then Michigan State gets beat pretty handily by Northwestern at home last night. They're down there at 96, I believe. So some interesting teams, obviously interesting teams in the Big Ten, but elsewhere around the country, you see North Carolina, first team ever or quickest team ever to fall out of the top 25 rankings after being preseason number 1. I know I didn't believe in the hype coming in. I don't think you believed much of the hype coming in because, again, they were not a very good team until they found a way to somehow win in Duke last year, and they ended up making the NCAA tournament and then had this miraculous run through. And they got pretty much everyone back from a team that wasn't very good for, 90% of the year last year. And now they've lost 4 in a row, losing at Indiana. They've lost to Virginia Tech. They've lost to who else have they lost to? They were taken to the wire by Portland. Teams
lost
like
that 4 overtime game to Arkansas, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So they have not looked good. They're in the 30s in the net ranking. Gonzaga's down to like 29th in the net rankings. Duke's kind of down there as well. So Kentucky's down there. I think Duke's actually up there quite a ways. But interesting to see them come out with these rankings today, because you never know where your team stands until they come out with them. Houston's number 1, I believe, which they've looked one of the best teams in college basketball so far. But Big Ten basketball, we're already a month into the season. Feels like it just started.
It's flying by again, just like college football did, and just like the NFL season is. It's flying by, and all the Big Ten teams have a Big Ten conference game under their belt, and everybody will have 2 under their belt by the time we do this show next week. So it's still kind of hard to divide who's good and who isn't. Everybody looks to be pretty competitive so far.
Besides Minnesota. Really, they're the only team.
Even them yesterday, I know it was Alabama, not Arkansas. My fault.
That's right.
That North Carolina lost their 4 overtime game too. Thank you to my dad for correcting me on that. I knew it started with an A, knew it was SEC, knew it was red. But even Minnesota yesterday, Purdue won 89-70, but they were making some tough, like mid-range contested shots. And I look at that team, I'm like, this is still a team that's probably going to win 4 or 5 conference games, in my opinion. They're a very young team. Who's gonna have to get better as the year goes on.
They are better with Jamison Battle back, because he hadn't played up until a couple games ago. So they are a better team with him. But then you look at Northwestern, thought they were garbage, lost at home by 30 to a horrendous Pitt team, then go on the road and beat Michigan State. Yeah. Nebraska beats number 10 Creighton yesterday. Number 7 Creighton yesterday. Nebraska's had some good games against others. They beat Boston College pretty handily. Penn State's looked really good. They're bombs away from 3 so far. So Minnesota's clearly the worst team in the Big Ten right now. But again, they can give some problems.
Right, especially on their home court. I mean, every Big Ten road game this year, like it is most years, is going to be difficult. But it's been fun to watch so far. Both of our teams are off to pretty good starts. Yeah, I think they'll be right there towards the end of the season. So yeah, I still shocked at this Purdue team so far. I did not get to watch any of that Florida State game last week, but they took care of business in front of like 100 people down there in Tallahassee. But it was one of those games that made me nervous, because Florida State only has 1 win, but they're more talented than that.
Well, then you see what they did on Saturday. They took Virginia to the wire in Virginia.
Right. So. And then not only that, Purdue was coming off of playing a whole weekend out in Portland and had flight issues. Didn't get back to West Lafayette until 5 a.m. on Monday. Guys had to go to class and then boarded a plane on a Tuesday to go down to Florida. It's just a lot of traveling on the whole opposite side of the nation. So
plus that high of beating Gonzaga and Duke back to back, it's going to be tough to get up for a team like Florida State.
Right. So they went in. It wasn't the prettiest, but they went in and won. Then they turned around and took care of Minnesota yesterday at home. And now this week they got Hofstra on Wednesday, which is, I know it's just Hofstra, but it's not televised, because there's 2 other games on the Big Ten Network conference games, so it's on Big Ten Plus. So thanks, Big Ten, for that.
I subscribe stupidly.
I have not, and I'm not going to. I'll just listen to it on the radio or something. And then they travel to Lincoln on Saturday, which now makes me a little more nervous for that game after last night's result against Creighton. But no, cannot complain. Zach Edey's playing phenomenal basketball. He'd probably be National Player of the Year right now.
Probably right now.
If it was decided. I mean, he had 31 points and 22 rebounds, 21 rebounds yesterday. He out-rebounded Minnesota by himself.
Minnesota's been known to do that. I remember Kofi had 38 and 17 against them. So they don't handle the big man well. I was going to talk about Edey, because Ken Pom, for each game, he has like a guy that is the MVP of that game. And every single one of Purdue games this year, it's been Zach Edey, and he says it's the longest stretch since he's been calculating.
Yeah, he won Big Ten Player of the Week for the second consecutive week this week, and Fletcher Lawyer won Big Ten Freshman of the Week for the second consecutive week. They're the first pair of teammates to ever do that. Both went back-to-back weeks together, which he had a quiet 20.8 assists, 0 turnover game. If there is such a thing, that's what he did yesterday. He had a quiet one, and he's really coming on. And that's the thing. These young players for Purdue so far are playing better than expected, and they're fearless, and the moment's not too big for them. And it's just been fun to watch. They've been a fun team to watch. They're hustling. They're playing defense.
It makes it significantly easier when you had lower expectations coming in too to see him play this well.
Does now they have expectations now because they've played so well at the start of the year. It's like, well, now going into the year, I'm thinking if they can be a 7 to 10 seed in the NCAA tournament, I'll be thrilled. Now, if they somehow end up 7 to 10 seed, I'll be really disappointed with the way they've started and up to rank fourth now in the polls that came out today. But we will see. We will see. But off to a good start. Hope they keep it rolling. Your line, I know, took a tough one on the chin Friday night in a building they just can't win at in Maryland. But they still played well. And Maryland's probably the surprise of the conference so far.
Yeah, it was their first sellout since 2019 at Maryland. And Underwood said it was as loud of an arena as he's been in since he's been a head coach. Now, Brad Underwood is known to be the king of hyperbole. He compared Andre Curbelo to Steve Nash when he was coming in. So he's been known to say these things, outlandish things, but it was loud, raucous environment. I'm proud of that Illinois team. Again, young, they are the least experienced team in the Big Ten as far as Big Ten play goes, and they found themselves down 12 a couple times and fought all the way back to tie it, and then unfortunately just couldn't make enough plays offensively at the end of the game. Then Jameer Young hits a dagger 3 with 12 seconds left to go up 4. But that was one. The young guys really struggled in their first Big Ten road game. Loud. Sky Clark was bad. Jaden Epps was bad. Ty Rogers barely played. But Coleman Hawkins and TJ Shannon, they both look like, and they've been in a bunch of first round mock drafts so far. They need somebody else to step up. Matt Meyer has to step up. Only played 14 minutes. He's in foul trouble. It's been about where he's been this year. It's been a really disappointing start to the year for him. So they just need that third scorer to step up because Shannon's going to get his. Hawkins is going to get his. But overall, I didn't think they were going to win coming in, and they played better than I thought. Brad Underwood had a pretzel thrown at him, a half-eaten soft pretzel thrown at him. He had half of a chicken breast thrown at him.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were throwing stuff, and honestly, the crowd could have got teed up. And Maryland fans have been known to do this because I think they did it to Isaac Haas back in the day.
They had some mean chants about his sister.
Yeah. I mean, that's worse than probably what Hawkins had. But the whole game, every time he touched the ball, is "F you Hawkins, F you Hawkins." For whatever, I don't know why they decided to pick on Hawkins. Hawkins does talk a lot of trash, but raucous environment. They're better for it. Honestly, it throws those guys into the fire, and the way they responded after getting down 12, thought they were going to get blown out of the gym. Got down 12 in the first half, and with about 12 minutes left in the second half as well, and climbed all the way back. So tough one this week, though. They have Texas, number 2 Texas tomorrow night it's either the Jimmy V or the Coaches versus Cancer. I never know. At Madison Square Garden, and then upstart Penn State team. It is at home, but it's one of those 11 a.m. Central start times, which you always hate those games on Saturdays. So they're going to need to play up for Penn State. I think they have a decent shot against Texas because they don't have that kind of size down low that's been killing them so far. But their guard play with Marcus Carr, a few of those other guys could pose some problems for Illinois' young backcourt. But I said that against UCLA as well, and Illinois ended up finding a way to win. So far, so good. About what I expected out of Illinois this year. They'd have some games that they surprise you and win, like UCLA, and then struggle against Maryland, but then struggle against Maryland and Virginia. But at the same time, both games were tied with about 2.5 minutes left. So they gave themselves a chance to win, just couldn't make enough plays.
Yep. I see Iowa's in that tomorrow also against Duke.
Yep.
Indiana suffered their first loss of the season, and it was on the road in a place that's nightmarish for a lot of Big Ten teams. That's Jersey Mike's
especially
Arena.
Top 10 teams.
Used to be the rack, and I think that's 7 straight games Rutgers has beat Indiana.
Wow. Steve Pikiell's a heck of a ball coach.
Well, it's going to be a physical battle when you play Rutgers. They're probably going to take you out of your game. They're going to make it look ugly. They're going to paint it black and blue, and that's what they did. I mean, I watched from afar at a restaurant.
I watched the majority of that game. IU couldn't score. They were without Jalen Hood-Schifino, which hurt. But again, scored 48 points. Trace Jackson-Davis couldn't get anything going. Now, again, Rutgers' defense is really physical, and then they have who's their big guy down low? I forget his name. He makes things difficult. Miller Kopp was IU's best player on Saturday, which they're probably not going to win too many games if he's your best player. He was shooting pretty good. Xavier Johnson was awful, turned it over 6 times. I think he shot 2 of 12 from the floor or something like that. And then Rutgers does what they do. Just grind it out, take it to the end of the shot clock, find a way to score. But really physical battle. But again, it's kind of embarrassing to only score 48 points.
Yeah, it's definitely not what they've been used to. The fans come to get used to this year, but they got a chance to bounce back this week. I don't remember who they have. Let me pull it up here. Of course, one of their games is a Big Ten game, of course, but let's see here.
They have Nebraska at home
Nebraska on Wednesday. And then they play Arizona Saturday.
Ooh, that's right. Where's that at? It's in Vegas. That's right.
Yes.
MGM Grand, which Arizona's coming off a bad loss against Utah. They got beat handily by Utah this past week. Everything's coming up Utah.
Yeah, it is. It is. Indiana still got to play Kansas too here in the next couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, they're a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. They're tough part of their non-conference schedule.
They're very fortunate they won that Xavier game, or they could be looking at not too many quality wins coming into Big Ten play, assuming they lose their zone in Kansas, which they might beat both of them or just one of them. So.
Yep. And the other Big Ten teams we've kind of already hit on in the beginning of our college basketball segment. So yeah, it was interesting last week. There was a night where Purdue won, Indiana won, Notre Dame won, Butler won, Indiana State won.
Huh.
Last Wednesday it would have been. Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, and I saw Indiana State's off to whatever the record is. They have 1 loss going into the weekend.
I don't think Greg Lansing's there anymore, is he?
He is not. I don't remember who their coach is.
I'll go look it up real quick.
But, of course, Notre Dame, like you said, had that big win over Michigan State, then followed that up with a loss against Syracuse. I know they have a loss against St. Bonaventure. They have close win against Radford. They're an interesting team. It's kind of been a roller coaster season for the Irish so far. And Butler as well. Butler's had some really Kansas State last week was probably their best win so far this year. They've got waxed a couple times. So it'll be interesting to see how many teams come March the state of Indiana gets in the tournament.
Yeah. Following up that win over Michigan State by losing to Syracuse was at home is horrendous. Syracuse was one of the worst offensive teams I've seen come to Champaign in years. Now, a lot of that had to do with Illinois' length and their defense, sure, but couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I almost felt bad for them watching them, and my team was whooping them.
I think they need a pressure behind him in retiring this time.
The fans want him gone. He can't recruit like he used to. The zone doesn't work anymore. Coleman Hawkins, 6'10", had a triple double out of that zone, 15, 10, and 10. He tore it up all game long. It's not working anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to take that old horse out the pasture sometimes, though.
But he said even back like 5 or 6 years ago, I want to coach my sons. Then I'll be done. Well, his sons are done, and he's still hanging on.
Yep.
The head coach of Indiana State is Josh Schertz, who was a head coach at Lincoln Memorial College in D2. He won. He's been to a couple D2 Final Fours. He was there for 13 years. So
that would be why I don't know who he is. I'm not real
never
brushed up on my D2 basketball knowledge.
They went 11-20 last year. Now, as you said, they're 8-1. So good for them.
I don't think I have anything else for college hoops.
Do you want to pick some games here for this week, real quick?
Yeah, we can do that.
Tomorrow night, Illinois against Texas, Jimmy V Classic.
I think Texas gets it done, but I think it's a close one. I think it's another close loss for Illinois.
Texas is 4-point favorites. I can handle close losses against top 5 teams. I prefer they win, but I'm taking Texas as well. I think Texas has the experience factor, the guard factor. But again, I think it'll be decided by 10 points or less.
There'll be no Tristan Thompson walking through those doors to get 35 rebounds, aka 11 or whatever he really had.
Illinois played in this thing a couple times, and Texas is one of them. And Felt like Tristan Thompson grabbed every rebound, and I checked and he only had 11. So, but they played Texans and lost. But yeah, give me Texas. I do think it'll be close though. Maryland, number 13 at Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin gets this one done. It just feels like, I don't know. Feels like it's time for Maryland to get the first loss.
Wisconsin's actually a point favorite. Wisconsin coming off a home loss to Wake Forest, and then they beat Marquette over the weekend.
Yeah,
that's a good basketball rivalry too that we didn't really talk about.
It's true.
Last week. Give me Wisconsin as well. First, Maryland does have good experience, but first true road game. I think Wisconsin gets it done. Iowa against Duke in the Jimmy V. Duke is 3-point favorites.
Yeah, I think Duke wins. I think Duke will actually win fairly easily.
Think so?
Mm-hmm.
Chris Murray had 31 and 20 against.
He's good.
Georgia Tech. He's good, just like his brother. Duke's probably better. Give me Duke, just because of Jacob Grandison. That's about it. That's the only reason why. Picking the Dukies. Wednesday night, if my computer loads here, we have Michigan State at Penn State. It'll be another loss.
I think Michigan State bounce back.
Think so? Give me Penn State at home.
You rarely see them lose 3 in a row.
Yeah. Over the last 41 Big Ten games, Tom Izzo is 20 and 21. So maybe tides are starting to turn there a little bit too.
He needs to get Max Christie back.
Yeah,
not Malik Hall. Malik Hall.
Excuse me. Malik Hall. Has he been hurt?
Matt Christie jumped. Malik Hall's been out for 2 weeks now.
That's probably why. I didn't even know that. Give me Penn State at home, though. Hofstra and Purdue.
Purdue.
Yeah, give me Purdue. Nebraska at Indiana.
Indiana.
Yep, give me Indiana. Thursday night, we have Rutgers at Ohio State.
Give me the Buckeyes.
Give me Rutgers. Upset. Number 20, Iowa State at Iowa.
I think Iowa at home.
Give me Iowa at home as well. This might be a must-win for Michigan. They travel on the road to Minnesota.
Yeah, give me Michigan that one for the little brown jug on the hardwood.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're quite a bit better than Minnesota, and they need it, though, or they'll be falling even deeper down in the net. Friday night, let's see if I can pull it up on my phone. Friday night, there are no games. Saturday, we have Penn State at Illinois.
Illinois will get that one at home.
I hope so. Give me Illinois as well. Purdue at Nebraska.
I think Purdue gets it done, but I think it's about 10-point or maybe a little less than 10-point win.
Nebraska doesn't have, not many schools do, have a soul that can guard Zach Edey. Purdue rolls. Brown at Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Yeah, give me Michigan State. Arizona against Indiana in Vegas.
I think Arizona gets that one done.
I agree. Give me Zona. Number 7, Tennessee against Maryland. It is at the Barclays Center.
It's a bad week for Maryland this week. I'm going Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee as well. Yeah, I think it is a bad week for Maryland. Wisconsin at Iowa. It's a good game for this early in the year.
Well, Iowa plays 3 games this week. 3 tough opponents. Give me Iowa.
Give me Iowa at home. Seton Hall at Rutgers.
Give me Rutgers. That'll be a good one, though. That'll be a fun little battle.
Yeah, give me Rutgers. And then Mississippi State at Minnesota. Is it at Minnesota? It is at Minnesota.
I'll give Minnesota a decent win there. I don't know anything about Mississippi State. I know
they're ranked.
They're ranked. Wow,
23rd. Yeah,
why not? Why not? I'll give the Gophers a big win for themselves. So.
Give me Mississippi State. I'm trying to see who Mississippi State has wins against Marquette and Utah. Those are kind of their big wins.
I know they won that Barstool Classic.
That must have been it.
Yeah,
against Marquette and Utah. But other than that, they have beaten John Gross's Akron squad. But it's going to be all I got for.
Yeah, a lot of hoops talk. We're just going to keep getting more and more as we keep rolling on into conference play, which, of course, then the Big Ten's going to go back to non-conference play here for the rest of December. But then starting January through March, that's all we'll have. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of ready for Illinois to start playing a couple cupcakes again because these games aren't great for my heart.
I'm sure they're not. But before we get into some football talk, I plugged this late on the episode last week, but I wanted to go more in detail this week. And that is a book co-written by one of our loyal viewers of the Tan and J-Man show, Sean
I'd even
Schreiber.
call him a contributor. Let's be honest.
A backstage, behind-the-scenes contributor of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Sean Shriver. That's Running Against the Grain, the story of Philadelphia Eagle and movie star Timmy Brown. And I barely got to say what this book was about last week, so I'd give it more detail this week. Timmy Brown went from being a child of divorce, living in an orphanage in rural Indiana, to sports success at Ball State, where he is remembered as perhaps the school's greatest athlete. In the 1960s, he played pro football at Green Bay and in Philadelphia. More than 50 years after he left the Eagles, he still held 4 team records. He ended his career as a Baltimore Colt at Super Bowl III, and he wasn't just a jock. His dream was to have equal success on stage as a singer and actor. His recordings and live appearances scored in the Philadelphia area, and his acting career led him to roles in 2 of the most acclaimed movies of the 1970s. He was friends or romantic partners with top stars of his time, among them Chubby Checker, Diane Warwick, Diana Ross, and Elliot Gould. But as a black man, he had to deal with the overt racism of his times, and his outspoken honesty didn't lead to continuing professional success. Yet he never quit, moving on to helping troubled youths in California and establishing a family of his own while in his 50s. While dreams can change and goals can go unmet, Tommy Brown's character and perseverance remained constants. His life is unique and fascinating.
Excited to dive into that one.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Should be a good one. Perfect read and perfect gift, or maybe even perhaps stocking stuffer if you're looking for that last minute thing for the sports fan in your family.
Sir. What is your word association this week?
It is college football related. It is, since the Big Ten championship game was over the weekend, I went with Big Ten championship MVPs.
Beautiful.
Starting with this year's MVP, Donovan Edwards.
Is he a running back?
He is a running back. He's actually Michigan's backup running back, but Blake Corum is done for the season. So pretty good backup.
Very good. But he could start on probably 11 of the other 13 teams or so.
Yeah.
I assume he'll be back next year. I'm not 100% sure if he's even eligible to come back or not.
I would assume so. And I'm glad you brought that up, coming back, because today is the first day of the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. I think there's 42 days left or something like that. And I just wanted to be known that Josh and I are keeping our talents with the Tan and J-Man Show Sports Podcast. We're not transferring to any other podcast. So it's nothing to worry about there.
It's a culture thing too. We got to keep the culture. But I did see, as of the first 4 hours, there were already over 600 players.
It's incredible. Incredible.
I read a stat, and I can't remember the exact stat, but over 1,000 players entered the transfer portal last year, and only 300 found homes. So
yeah,
sometimes the grass isn't always greener.
Nope. And there's a lot. I mean, even Alabama's got some pretty good guys that have went out there, poured tons of good quarterbacks. Purdue had surprises. Purdue had a couple guys that they enter. Most were backups, but their starting left guard with 2 years remaining did it. And that just, because now he won't play in their bowl game, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But that took me by surprise. I'm like, I didn't even hear that as a possibility. But who knows? Maybe he thinks he can get more NIL money somewhere. I don't know what the case is. Don't know what the case is. 2021, last year, Aiden Hutchinson.
Good one. I mean, he was one of the best defensive players Big Ten's had over the past decade or so, and he was having a pretty good start to his NFL career.
And he can sing and dance too, like we saw in Hard Knocks. 2020, the weird COVID year, Trey Sermon, Ohio State.
He's a big bruising back. He was in the NFL for a little bit. I think he got hurt, though. I don't remember who he was with, but I know he got drafted.
2019, Ohio State, Justin Fields.
Turning it on. But again, though, they keep losing these games, and it's because he's throwing these picks at the end of games, too. Now, his pick yesterday that kind of ended the game it wasn't a good throw, but Armand St. Brown, or Equanimous St. Brown, ran the worst route I've ever seen.
2018, Dwayne Haskins.
Rest in peace. Didn't pan out in the NFL. Great for 1 year in college, though.
2017, J.K. Dobbins.
Tore his ACL last year. He'd probably be the featured back there in Baltimore, and he just hasn't been the same since. He was great at Ohio State.
2016, Trace McSorley, Penn State.
Really? He's still hanging around too. He was with Baltimore, bounced around. He is with, I forget who he's with, but I know he's played at least one snap this year. He was a gamer at Penn State though. He was good.
2015 Michigan State Spartan Connor Cook.
Connor Cook, yeah, I was at one of his first career starts. He started at Illinois for Michigan State and went, I think he was 14 of 15, 4 touchdowns.
It's a pretty good start.
That was a Timmy Beckman classic.
2014, the legend Cardell Jones.
Didn't come here to play school.
Third Street.
I will never forget he went and played like an elementary school kid in a children's hospital. He played him in Madden, and somebody tweeted he just won 91-27 or something like that. He said, I had 91 with two minutes left. I won by 98 to something.
No humble there. No humble there. Third string quarterback that got hot and led them to Big Ten championship, led them to win it all.
Yeah.
2013, Michigan State Spartan Connor Cook, the only 2-time conference championship MVP.
I think I've said this before, but how's that one of his first career starts? He went 14 to 15, 4 touchdowns.
2012, these three, the ones I just mentioned, these two are legends and leaders. Division. 2012, Monte Ball for Wisconsin.
Terrible NFL running back, as you know.
Terrible human being.
Is he? I didn't know.
Well, he had a really bad off-field situation. He got arrested for it. Maybe it's one incident, but it's one of those instances. If you do that and get in trouble for it, I look at you differently. So.
Yep.
Yeah, 2011, Russell Wilson.
Had a good first couple years of his career. Tail end of his career is not going to ruin the franchise, to be honest.
Next. Yeah, but that's
Let's
hide. Give me a paper brown bag and let me cut my eyes out. And
I think he's wanting to hide from his teammates right now. Sounds like it's getting ugly there.
Yeah, I can do a whole podcast, multi-hour podcast on that.
I read Hackett has not lost the locker room, but Russell Wilson has. That was the last thing I read about that whole ugly situation down there.
They've all lost me right now. So, but that's the Word Association segment, which is brought to you by Proforma Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting in 2023, they have over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for a fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weidsberg a call at 574-210-3815.
How was your experience at the Big Ten championship game?
It was a blast. Very cool environment. One of the neater sporting events I've probably been to. Just Indianapolis does a great job with big time events, and it's a big time feel. It was probably about 60-40 Michigan to Purdue fans there, if not a little more than that. But I still thought the Purdue crowd showed out pretty well. It was loud. Great first half. Purdue gave them all they wanted, down 1 point in the first half, halftime. Then second half had some costly turnovers, and just Michigan's overall talent rose to the top in the second half. And but Purdue hung in there for majority of the night, and Michigan ended up covering the spread and win by 21. But Purdue didn't absolutely get killed like Iowa did last year, 49-3 or anything like that. Didn't
embarrass themselves.
No, and I was worried about that, but they proved at least for a while they could contend, and they belonged on that stage, national stage. But it was just a fun environment. Lucas Oil's a great stadium. It was the second most attended Big Ten championship behind last year's game. Last year's was number 1, so that's definitely a Michigan effect. Michigan's still new to this. Ohio State and Wisconsin are the two that have played in so many times. Their fans are probably like, well, we're going to save our money for the college football playoff or Rose Bowl or whatever it may be. But fun environment, pretty decent game, and hopefully I can go back again in the future. It's only going to get tougher, though, now that the Big Ten West next year's got 2 more horses for coaches in the race, and then in 2 years, and in 2024, UCLA and USC join, and we're not sure what's going to look like. Is there still going to be 2 divisions? Is there going to be 4 pods? There's still going to be a Big Ten championship. We just don't know how it's going to be all structured.
Yeah.
But very neat experience. Glad I went. Glad I spent the money on tickets because the tickets were not cheap for this event, but very cool. It was my first time I've ever watched a college football game in Lucas Oil.
You didn't go to the Notre Dame Purdue?
I did not go to Notre Dame Purdue, which in 2013 I did not go to Jeff Brohm's first game, which was against Louisville in 2017.
That's right.
Did not go to that either, but yeah, I'm glad I went to this one, and it was a good time, very good time.
Got to ask you about it. Louisville job.
Yes. Not the news I wanted to wake up to this morning.
Yeah.
I've stayed on this podcast. A few months ago, I prepared myself for him to leave for Louisville. But then as Louisville season progressed and they, came back from a 3-4 record or whatever it was to be 7-5, and there was no really news of Satterfield getting fired, I kind of was, well, I think Purdue's at least got to hang on to him for one more year. I wasn't real worried about it. And then we got the news this morning that Scott Satterfield's jumping from Louisville to Cincinnati, which didn't even hear any rumors of that going on. And he's taken the vacant job of Luke Fickell, who went from Cincinnati to Wisconsin. I think we talked about that last week, if I'm not mistaken. So coaching carousel, one job closes, another one opens in that effect. And so now it looks like Jeff Brohm's going to be Louisville's number one target, just like he was in 2018. And this time's got such a different feel around it because it looks like the timing's now right, maybe for him to make that jump. But what surprises me is word coming out of Louisville is they're not willing to pay big bucks like they were last time. Maybe about what he's making at Purdue, maybe a little higher, but last time they were trying to really up the ante to where Purdue had to up the ante. And on the flip side, it doesn't sound like Purdue's going to really, take up the notch of the pay level too much either to try to keep him. So I'm not sure. Maybe this has been known for behind the scenes for a little while. This was a possibility, and maybe Mike Bobinski's been ready with a list. I'm not sure. I hope so. I hope as a good athletic director, I hope he's had a list for when this day has come. But we will see. If it's going to happen, just let it happen quick. Rip the Band-Aid off. Yep. Now more than ever with the college environment atmosphere like it is, with the transfer portal and recruiting at early sign day, you got to make these moves fast. The longer he holds on, it not only hurts Purdue, of course, but hurts Louisville too if he's going to go there, because you got to get on the road and start recruiting. So hopefully whatever happens comes to a head this week, because both teams have a bowl game to get ready for too. Louisville now plays Cincinnati, which that's going to be weird.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And Purdue's in the Citrus Bowl on January 2nd against Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers, which really scares me if Jeff Brohm does leave. How many players is he got to take with him? That's my main concern. How many Purdue recruits is he got to take with him? What's Purdue's staff and roster going to look like for a bowl game, come January 2nd and going into next year? Because then, the more players if he leaves, that he takes with him, Purdue's got to get in the portal real quick and try to fill those voids where they can. So I don't even know who I'd want, Josh, to take that spot. I haven't thought of it enough. I would want somebody with head coaching experience. I don't even want like a big name OC. I would want somebody with head coaching experience, but I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's another, group of 5 coach or a mid-major like they went after when Jeff Brohm was at Western Kentucky, or if it's somebody who's, the name that scares me out there that I don't want is Kevin Sumlin. He's got Purdue ties. Yeah. He's the one that scares me. He's one that I could see him going kind of cheap and hiring, and I guess they could do worse, but that wouldn't excite me, and I don't think it would excite a lot of the fan base.
That'd be like hiring Conzo Martin when Painter leaves,
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Purdue's not a football destination job, never going to be. There's not many football destination jobs really in college football anymore, with the way money gets thrown around, and has Purdue now through 6 years a way better spot than he found it, and he did what he set out to do, get him to a conference championship game. Don't know how much more he can do at Purdue's back-to-back 8-win seasons, back-to-back Big Ten winning record seasons, things they haven't done since the late 90s. And next year, let's be honest, he's losing his quarterback, losing his best wide receiver, losing a couple good defensive players, and the schedule gets tougher. So if the timing's to leave, maybe now's the time.
Yeah, it seems like it is right for him to leave. The timing is like almost a perfect storm.
If he says no to Louisville, whatever, for whatever reason this time, I don't think Purdue has to worry about him ever leaving for Louisville if he says no this time.
Yeah, if he says no this time, I think the Louisville is a pipe dream for them.
Yep.
this point.
So we will see. And the one thing I think of course, though, I'm a Purdue fan, is I think of the Big Ten money, Big Ten situation instead of an ACC. Don't know the future of the ACC. And Louisville really seems like a dumpster fire now. But Jeff Brohm's a guy who loves that city. He's got his family still lives there. He's still got a house there. He's a Louisville football legend. So if they can pull one of their own that loves that university back, then I won't. I'll be upset because I like the guy and I'm grateful and thankful for what he did, and I want him to coach Purdue for many more years. But I'll be understanding if he goes for Louisville. So, one last college football thought, and I know we're kind of running out of time here, so we want to go to NFL. So maybe we'll talk about the Big Ten bowl picture more next week. But thoughts on Deion Sanders primetime going to Colorado? I was wrong on that one. I didn't think it was a fit.
I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be either spectacular or just an absolute dumpster fire, as we say a lot on this show. He'll come in. He needs to change the culture right away, and the first time meeting the players, it seems like he's doing that. He couldn't care less. That's a team that went 1-11 this year. There's not going to be many players from that roster back.
Nope.
He's already named his son starting quarterback, so that'll be
that's a bold move.
Yeah, some sort of violation from the NCAA is coming, but it's probably going to be a minor violation. But yeah,
that's all my Twitter's been about. So because I follow so many Denver related things, so
it's going to be fun to follow either way. So
he'll have a lot of players wanting to play for him, whether it's through recruiting or through the transfer portal. And if he has
already got a 5-star.
If he has success,
5-star.
He won't be there long. He'll jump to a bigger job, southern job,
somewhere else, or the NFL or whatever. If the NFL wants him, but
NFL
talk: 3 winners, 3 losers.
One of my winners got to be the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep, me too.
Kansas City goes into the jungle, and the Bengals beat them for the second time in 2022. And Joe Burrow showed why his nickname is Joe Cool. Played pretty good yesterday.
Joe is 3-0 against Patty Mahomes.
He's his kryptonite.
Yep, Bengals are also one of my winners. The Seattle Seahawks are another one. They desperately needed to come back and beat the LA Rams, and they found a way to do it late. Geno Smith's playing some really good football.
One of my other winners, Buffalo Bills, because of Cincinnati's win. The Bills are now the 1 seed again in the AFC.
Yeah. Bills got the Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, and Chiefs to lose yesterday or this week. So good week for the Bills. Dallas Cowboys are my last winner. I think they've cemented themselves as the best team in the NFC, unfortunately. I think they're better than Philadelphia. 33 points in the fourth quarter. Colts are horrendous. Jeff Saturday's not going to be there after this year. They had a great story his first week, but after that, it's been kind of.
Why are they still playing Matt Ryan at this point?
There's no point. Sam Ehlinger's not the guy either, I guess. But.
Put in Nick Foles. Why not?
Yeah,
what do you got to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Well, my last winner is actually San Francisco 49ers. Just to win with Jimmy G going down like that and Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Looked
pretty good yesterday. Now I want to see how he looks this week after now that tape's out on him.
Yeah.
And defenses can make adjustments.
And facing Tom Brady as well.
But I do think that injury, San Francisco was a kind of a sleeper to make the Super Bowl. Now I don't think they can do it.
Their defense is great. Their running game's great. All Purdy has to do is not turn the ball over, and I think they'll be okay. Don't know about Super Bowl now, but with Jimmy G, I think they had a legitimate chance to even win it.
Still can't believe the Broncos beat them somehow. But look for Baker Mayfield to get picked up by the San Francisco.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. 3 losers.
LA Chargers. Losing to the Raiders. Now you're 6-6. We talk about all the time. Herbert, and I know it's not all his fault. They got injuries and so much the defensive side of the ball, but Herbert's not getting wins, and Brandon Staley's going to be looking for a job along with Nathaniel Hackett after this year.
Must win for the Chargers this week, Sunday night. I have 2 losers here that are lumped together. The Commanders and the Giants tying hurts both teams. Hurts probably the Giants more than the Commanders, but to tie like that sucks. And it's the NFL's fault as well. I need to get rid of that regardless. I don't know. But
Jets, one of my losers. I mean, they lost to a tough team on the road to Minnesota, the Vikings, but they were down there at the end of the game to win and couldn't get it in on 4 attempts. Yeah. And they're still hanging on by a thread in that last spot in the playoffs, but I can't think it's going to last much longer.
They have to go to Buffalo this week, so that'll be tough. I have 2 more losers. Neither are playoff teams. Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears. Jags had a great win against Baltimore and then fell flat on their face against Detroit, gave up 40
Detroit's
points.
Playing better.
They are playing some pretty good football. Chicago Bears, were up 9 against the Packers, and then Aaron Rodgers does what Aaron Rodgers does against them. And Justin
It's his
Fields
second
throws
home.
a back-breaking pick as he's done the past couple weeks. Yeah.
My last losers, Tennessee Titans. Didn't think they'd beat the Eagles. My dad told me yesterday he thought the Titans would kill the Eagles, and it was the opposite. The Eagles killed the Titans.
Opposite, yeah.
And it was the A.J. Brown revenge game, and boy, did he get some.
Stupid trade. Pick 'em. I won this past week again, and if I win this week, I will have clinched the season for the third straight year. I am 9-4 currently, so I need one win. Terrible Thursday night matchup, although Vegas playing better. Vegas Raiders at the LA Rams.
I'm actually taking the Raiders for 2.
I'm taking the Raiders for 6. New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills.
Give me the Bills for 10.
I have the Bills for 11. Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Give me the Cincinnati Bengals for 11.
I have the Bengals for 10. Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys.
Give me the Cowboys for 12.
Cowboys for 13. Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions.
Give me your Detroit Lions for a point.
I almost took the Lions, but I'm taking the Vikings for 3. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans.
Give me the Titans for 9.
I have the Titans for 9 as well. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants.
Should be a good one. I could see it being tight, but give me the Eagles at 4.
I have the Eagles for 8. Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Can't find this one on my sheet. Oh, there it is. Give me the Steelers for 3. It sounds like Lamar Jackson will not play this week.
I am taking Kenny Pickett's starting to play better, but for whatever reason, I'm still taking Baltimore for only 2. Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. I think I know where you're going with this one.
Chiefs for 13. They'll make it 16 straight against the Broncos.
I'm taking the Chiefs for 12. Tampa Bay Bucks at the San Francisco 49ers.
Buccaneers for 5.
Ooh, I'm taking the Niners for 1. I think Tom Brady hasn't looked good. That defense is great. But again, Brock Purdy factor. You never know. Carolina Panthers at the Seattle Seahawks.
Give me the Seahawks for 8.
I have the Seahawks for 7. Miami Dolphins at the LA Chargers.
Give me the Dolphins for 6.
This will be the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week. This is only the 4th time the Dolphins have been on Sunday Night Football since they moved to NBC in 2006.
Wow.
I've been at 2 of them. They're 1-1 in those games. But I think the Dolphins bounce back. Honestly, Niners defense is good, but I thought the Dolphins left points on the field. Tua Tagovailoa had his worst game since he got hurt against the Cincinnati Bengals. Threw 2 picks. One was bad. One probably wasn't his fault because the receiver fell down. But he was missing guys he usually hits. I think he bounces back. I think he put a little too much pressure on himself going into San Francisco. Hopefully he doesn't do that this week against Justin Herbert. Need to find some sort of freaking running game. It's pathetic. They don't even attempt to run anymore. Defense has a much harder struggle, and they gave up 26 points yesterday. I had 23 points yesterday. But Justin Herbert's going to be different. But give me the Dolphins for 5 points. J-Man's Book of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watchering. Life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis 219-869-4561. Email travis.watchering@infb.com. This episode's also brought to you by The Damn Landing, whether you want epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-bread, tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or handcrafted cocktail. Go to The Damn Landing, located 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. Monday night game, New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals.
Patriots for 7.
I have the Cardinals for 4. I think both teams are trash. I mainly just gave the Cardinals a win because they're at home. We actually have 6 buys this week on December. What would it be? December 11th. Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, Commanders. Almost called them Redskins. Birdie Bogey here to end the show. Can you name the 3 head coaches with at least 7 conference championship game wins in NCAA football?
Nick Saban?
Yep.
3 of them, right? 7.
3 of them.
7.
Yep.
Bob Stoops?
Bob Stoops is one of them.
Okay, so that's 2 out of 3. Seven, and these are wins, right? Not appearances, wins.
Correct. Wins.
Urban Meyer.
Oh, I'll give you a par. Oh, man. Dabo.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
I honestly thought you'd get Dabo and Saban and miss on Stoops.
Yeah. Dang it.
You're so close. So close.
Yeah, Dabo was another one I was thinking. I thought Urban with Florida and the combination of Florida and Ohio State.
Yeah, Dabo got his 8th and passed Bob Stoops. Stoops had 7, Dabo 8, and Saban with 10. So.
All right. Son of a gun.
Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and we'll be back at it next Monday.